Welcome to Behind the Audition podcast with your host, Curt Hilton. Listen in on interviews with voiceovers, filmmakers, producers, animators, and much more. Curt, a voice actor himself, will give insider tips to the business, talk with guests about how they got into the business, and be sure to stay tuned to the end of the podcast when he challenges his guests with a pop-up audition. Now it's time for Behind the Audition podcast. Here's Curt Hilton.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. On this episode, I got to speak to the amazing voice actor, Mike HathCote. Mike and I talked about how he started out in the voiceover industry, choosing the right hashtags for your social media, how to choose the right content for your social media, working your personality into your brand, and should you only use pay-to-play websites to build your business. So sit back and enjoy another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. And welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have this gentleman on the show. I recently saw him on another podcast, and he had some fantastic, valuable information that I'm excited for him to share. Ladies and gentlemen, voice actor Mike HathCote. How are you doing today?
Fantastic, Curt. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You know, me and you were talking before the show. You're at a really cool location, Airbnb, a little fun vacation. And we were just talking. Actually, I saw on Instagram you posted not too long ago. You made a little fort for your voiceover business. You know, the job never stops, I guess, right?
It doesn't, but that's what's great about this job is that you can pretty much do it anywhere. You don't have to, be stuck in a booth somewhere. I mean, if I need to travel to go somewhere, like now I'm in Alabama for my 30-year high school reunion. I just build a big pillow fort around my computer here and go for it.
That is great. And before I get to the fun stuff here too, I do want to talk about, how you got into voiceover. I do see that you do a lot of IVR as well as other voice over as well. When did you get into the industry?
Wow. I started in voiceover, actually in radio in 1995. So quite a ways back. And I thought at the time that that's kind of what I wanted my career to, the way I wanted it to go. And so, but also at the same time, I was a competitive skateboarder and I had the chance to go off and be a pro skater. So I kind of put the radio thing to the side for a bit. I still did it as kind of a side hustle for many years until a few years ago, I'd say about 10 years ago, I decided, you know what, I'm done working for the man and I'm just going to do this on my own. And so that's where we are.
That is great. And so when you first got into this business, what was your first focus? I have people who reach out, want to know what they need to buy. What's the first thing that you purchased or you focused on when you became a voice actor?
Really, it's your space. Your space is everything. You could have the best microphone in the world, but if your space is not treated, then it's just not going to sound right. So that and coaching is gigantic in this business. Because you don't know what you don't know at the beginning. So I had tons of coaching. Not only performance coaching, but I also had to lose my Southern accent because, like I said, I'm from Tennessee and also Alabama. So a lot of dialect coaching, a lot of performance coaching, even some recording and editing coaching to make sure that you've got the right skills to make it work.
And, one thing that I want to talk about with you is you have a fantastic marketing method, and it opened my eyes. And recently I went through all my social media accounts. A lot of voice actors like myself, we use the hashtag voiceover, voice actor. You opened my eyes and it was kind of like a slap, like wake up. We shouldn't be using voice actor, voiceover. What are some great marketing methods that you use that we should all change?
Yeah, so that is interesting that a lot of people will do that. Now, it's okay to use those hashtags. If you're going to use, some hashtags wherever you're posting, it's okay to use those VO hashtags, but don't only use those hashtags. So you're trying to get in front of the people who would potentially hire you. So those kinds of hashtags would be things like video production, explainer video, all the different types of clients that you would want to be in, get in front of. Those hashtags are the ones you want to use. You're just preaching to the choir if you're just using VO hashtags.
Absolutely. I found the other day I was going through my Instagram and I was looking at my hashtags and I was looking at who I was marketing to. I was essentially just going in a vicious circle. I'm just coming back to myself. And that's why I was probably back early in the year getting messages from other voice actors. Hey, I can do a commercial for you. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do I keep getting these for? I mean, so it opened my eyes and it makes sense. So the strategy is what's important to this industry. What's some good strategy that you recommend to people getting into this?
All a lot of people put all their eggs in one basket, right? Maybe it's the pay to plays, or maybe it's the freelance sites, or maybe it's just direct marketing or just social media. The key is to do all of it. Now, I don't do pay to plays, but I know some people who kind of rely on that solely for their business. But what happens if, like 2 years ago or so, when Voice 123 changed everything about their business model, if that's your only source of income and something changes drastically like that, you're going to be in trouble. So my best advice is to don't put your eggs in one basket. Diversify multiple streams of income so that if one happens to vanish, that you've still got these other ones.
That's a great advice. I always tell myself, the main priority is my brand, my company, because like you said, I am on freelance sites and pay to play sites. What is something that you would recommend for like your brand, like, how to choose your right brand? What do you do to help your brand stick out from others?
Oh man. Well, when it comes to brands, I think consistency is key. Now, whatever brand you decide to go with, I mean, some people, I've worked with clients who have, for instance, I know this one guy that I coached, his logo had a little raven on it. Like, it was like his initials, and then he had a little raven, and that was kind of his little trademark, right? It was this little raven. So whatever you're into, work that into, work your personality into your logo or into your brand image. But most importantly, make sure that your brand image is consistent across all of your marketing efforts. So across all of your social media profiles, it should all have the same look and feel as your website, your email signature. It should be all branded with the same consistent look and feel.
Love it. Love it. And so when you found out, you said, don't put all your eggs in a basket. When did you know you found your niche? When did you know this is what I need to focus on? This is my platform.
I started, when you first start, you want to just try to do as much work in every genre as you possibly can, right? And then the things that you start getting work for tend to be what you're better at over time. So kind of let the market decide what you're good at. Because if I, like, for instance, I do commercial, I do narration, I do IVR, I do, podcast intros, pretty much everything that's not character-based. I don't do a whole lot of character-based stuff. But I did find pretty early on that I was getting more of the long form narration, explainer videos, e-learning, stuff like that. And I just went with it, right? I mean, I'll still do commercials when they come my way. I'll still audition for them and I still get them. But the majority of what I get is that longer form work. So, and that's fine because it pays well. It's not sexy, but it works.
Absolutely. And that's what everybody says. They want the sexy work, And so when I looked on your social media and you have some really cool content, the skateboarding is awesome. And you do focus on, your business as well. How do you know what content to post, how to separate personal from business on your platform? Because I know I have 3 different ones. I have a podcast one, I have my business as well as my personal one. How do you know what content, like your strategy on your content posting?
So with Instagram in particular, Instagram is a little different than all the other ones in that it's really more about your personality. And that's why I mix it up on Instagram. I have stuff about my family or my dog or my, skateboarding. But then when I do have something to post business related, then I make sure I use all those business hashtags, right? Just to make sure that I'm hitting the right audience. So that's a little separate, but everything else that I do on social media, my Facebook page, my Twitter, YouTube, all that kind of stuff, LinkedIn especially, is all business all the time. So I don't post any sort of non-VO stuff on any of those sites. Really, Instagram is the only kind of outlier there.
Wonderful. And so LinkedIn, I find is a really good networking platform. When you reached out, do you reach out mostly to the business that you want to focus on, or do you still focus on, building a good network of voiceover as well?
Well, just like the other ones, I don't mind following other voice talent, and I don't mind other voice talent following me, obviously.
Mhm.
But when I'm doing my marketing, it's strictly to people who are potential clients.
Right.
I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, yeah, it's nice to join, Facebook groups for VO and stuff like that. You can find a lot of information there. A lot of it you kind of have to take with a grain of salt because everybody's got an opinion, and you know what they say about that. But when it comes to just actually going out and getting the work, focusing on the pipeline, focusing on getting brand new clients or potential clients, getting your content in front of them. And that's what it's all about.
Wonderful. And, one thing I like to do is I'll reach out with a voice message on the LinkedIn. Is there a certain tactic that you like to use to introducing yourself?
Yep. What I do is I don't do a voice message, but what I do is whenever I do my direct marketing, which by the way, it's been a while since I've done my own direct marketing. I've actually hired someone to do that for me now, but because I've been kind of bogged down with work, which is the ultimate goal. But when I would do direct marketing, after I would reach out to them via email, say I went to their website and did some research and then shot them an email, I would always follow up with them on LinkedIn. And just to say, hey, I just sent you an email through your website or, from your website, but I want to connect with you here as well. And I've got a little template that I use for that because, they only give you a certain amount of characters to reach out when you haven't connected yet. And so I do that every time. So they know that I'm kind of covering all my bases, that not only am I researching them on their website, but I'm also trying to find them elsewhere.
Now, do you still do the cold call method? I know there's some people that say, get on the phone, make a phone call. I recently, last month, I got on the phone and I called a production company. I actually reached out to a local studio, and that's how I got my foot in the door too. What's a process like that look like for those wanting to do that?
I did a lot of that at the beginning. When I was first trying to build this up several years ago, I did a ton of cold calling. But I have found that lately, email outreach is just as effective as far as the response rate.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Someone who is maybe a solopreneur, video producer, they're out in the field, they're doing a shoot somewhere. I don't want to be blowing up their phone in the middle of their workday when they're trying to work.
Right.
I'll let them reply to that email when they have some time to do so.
Right.
But I did do quite a bit of cold calling at the beginning. And I also, and this is another tip for people who are trying to do this cold calling method, start locally. You said you reached out to somebody local there. Start locally and kind of expand from there, because number one, you've got that location in common. So you immediately have kind of like a, hey bro, I'm from here and you're from here. Let's, let's partner up.
Yeah.
And then you can even go check them out. Like I actually went over to a place that I reached out to and sat with them and, looked them in the eye and shook their hand or, fist bump or whatever we're doing these days. And you get to see how they work, and that those relationships are great when you can do them like that.
That's great feedback, because I am like one who thinks email is kind of tedious sometimes. You'll get the typical template. Even you'll know when that email is like template. You're like, oh wow, they really didn't put much in that email. And it's kind of like a phone call. You don't want to sound like repetitive. That telemarketer calling you, hello, thanks for
Yeah.
So I like the idea of getting on the phone and making that call. And so when people ask me, hey, how are you building business? And I'll throw in the LinkedIn, I'll throw in the cold calling. Which method do you think works the best of all, like email, social media, or cold calling?
I think email for me over the years has produced the most fruit. Okay. All the other stuff kind of complements that. But like I said before, I found that email, the reply and response rate from email is about the same as cold calling. And you don't have to deal with like a gatekeeper, trying to get to the right person. So that's what I think. I've found that email to be the best so far.
Wonderful. What do you think about the days of blogging? You think blogging is mostly turning into vlogging now? Do you think people are still like, because it looks like our attention span with TikTok and other platforms, do you think the days of blogging are kind of going out?
I don't know. I've never really been much of a blogger myself. So I know plenty of people who do it still. I honestly haven't put much thought into it, but I don't see as many as I used to. And so that may be very true, that they may be on the way out.
Because
Who
it's
knows?
like, yeah, because it's like, with podcasts, you'd asked me 2 years ago about a podcast. I'm like, why do I want to do that? And now
Yeah.
I listen to a podcast when I'm doing dishes. I listen when I
Yeah.
go on a walk. Everything's podcast. It's so informative. It's in your ear, and you don't have to like sit down and focus. You can listen and do other things. Let's talk about, your business now, and how you got it going, and your first audition. I like to talk to those who got into this. What was your first audition like, getting into this business?
Oh man. Going way back. Let's think here. I don't know if I can even remember my first audition. I can definitely remember my first directed session, and
there we go. How was that?
Yeah, those can be crazy because, especially for new talent. And I just got off of one literally right before this call. I got off a directed session. And what's crazy about that is, especially for new talent, if you're not used to being analyzed and critiqued, and several people really picking apart what you're trying to do for them, it can be nerve-wracking, to say the least. Just know that the ultimate goal is to get the best product, and they're not there to critique and make you feel bad. They're there to critique, to actually get the best possible read. This one that we did earlier today was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 lines. It was a pretty short deal, but we were on the phone for almost about 45 minutes getting those. Wow. Because we, different takes, different inflections, and that kind of thing. But we ultimately got what we needed, and everybody was cool with it. So I don't even know. I just think that in this business, you have to have a thick skin and realize that people are out for the best possible quality product, period.
Absolutely. I just got some advice for auditioning, taking 2 takes and do one how you think that should sound. I got a call back or something this morning because I did that. I did it in a way that I thought, you know what, I like their direction, but my coach was telling me, you know what, let's try something the way you think too at the end, because they may not get there anyway, because they're going to listen to 4 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What do you think about 3 takes, like doing one yourself?
3 takes. I never really give 3 takes unless they ask for it. I quite often give 2 takes, but just make sure that you slate letting them know that you've got 2 takes, because they may just think you've got the 1 take and just stop in the middle of that first take and not really wait until that second one kicks in. So I always just do something like, Mike HathCote, 2 takes, and then just go right into it. But you're right. I think doing one the way they say first, the one based on their direction, and then as long as you've got another one in you, some people, sometimes you don't have a second take in you, so then it's just kind of silly to do a second one if there's not a pretty big difference in between the two. But yeah, I'd say definitely more times than not, people will like my second take, which is weird. And if I hadn't given them the second take, I wouldn't have gotten the job.
Very nice. And so moving along to TikTok and now YouTube short. The YouTube shorts I've came across, and it's actually, it's something that I use for the podcast, little short clips of past episodes. And there's people that like it for their like dancing on TikTok and, to build a platform. What are your thoughts about TikTok and voiceover?
To be honest, I don't tick or talk. I am. I
love that.
I'm not on the platform. So, I mean, I know people who have tried to use it. I don't know if it's effective or not. And that's where I don't even want to speculate. We'll have to wait and see. Same thing with Clubhouse. I know Clubhouse is big for a lot of people these days. And I know some VO talent are using that. It remains to be seen whether or not it's going to actually be an effective marketing tool to generate business, but we'll wait and see. If it proves to be, and other people are having success with it, maybe I'll jump on there.
Do you think YouTube is losing traction? Getting people to their YouTube sites is, with, like I said, the lack of attention span. Do you think YouTube's shorts is going to help save YouTube?
Possibly. I mean, like you said, everybody's got that short attention span, and everybody's vying for that attention. So it could very well do that. What I like to use YouTube for, I don't use the shorts, but I use I use it to, showcase work that I've done, showcase my demos. One thing that I coach my clients to do, my coaching clients for marketing, is to, with YouTube particularly, if you come across a job that you've done, or if you've gotten a link sent to you from your client saying, hey, here's the final project, thanks, and you go watch it on YouTube, download it locally onto your computer. Because there've been times when a company that I've done a job for has, closed their YouTube channel.
Right.
And that product is gone forever.
Oh my gosh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So I always download them and then re-upload them to my own YouTube page. So that way I know I've got it forever in case something ever were to happen to them.
I love that. And so talk about work-life balance. I know you're on a trip and everything. Sometimes I come across burnout, and sometimes I'll focus on too many things. I've diversified. I'm a DJ. I have a podcast show, as well as I do voiceover work. So sometimes I get caught into this burnout stage of, what am I doing? What do I want to do? Am I doing too much? How do you handle work-life balance? Because burnout is real.
It totally is. And I've had to really assess that lately. I've gotten to the point now, well, first, when I was building this business, I was blowtorching the candle at both ends, trying to build a business, because I had no other options, right? I mean, it was full-time BO or nothing.
Right.
So I was really, really working a ton. And I finally got to a point where I was like, look, I wanted to do this job so that I would have the freedom to do other things. And when I wanted to. And so I can now turn down work. I can put work off to the next day. I'm not just going until it's done every day. But only in the last year or so have I prioritized that. And I'm so glad I did, because burnout will get you.
Absolutely. What helped you? I seem to go through these phases where it's like, I'm like a pen and paper guy. My strategy, I'll sit down. I like to brainstorm, write it down. I liked in the old school method. What worked for you to keep you in your lane and not just to kind of get thrown here, and here? What worked to keep you strategized on what's going to help your business be successful? Because I get to the point where it's like burnout. It's like, what did I do wrong? Where did I get off track? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have anything other. Like you, I'm not I don't do DJ stuff or anything like that. So I was really just singularly focused on VO. So I didn't really have the opportunity to get off track. Right. It was all VO all the time, especially at the beginning when I was building the business, which, like I said, ended up leading to a little bit of burnout where I had to reassess and make sure that I was spending time with my wife and kids and skateboarding and stuff like that I needed for that outlet.
Did you focus on one particular VO, like, commercial or characters, or was there a specific one you focused on to keep you focused to build that one part? Did you do one goal at a time, or you did them all?
I did them all. Like I said, I'll let the market decide. I mean, I knew pretty quickly that I was not an audiobook guy. I did a few audiobooks right off the bat, and I'm not great at that. I'll be honest.
Right.
You have to have a certain kind of gear to do audiobooks. And I get to the point where I want to sit down and just get it done. And, I'm ready and raring to go when I first sit down to do it. But then by the end of that, say, first chapter, I'm like, oh, I got to record that again, because you can just feel the energy going down.
Yeah.
So I realized pretty early on that audiobooks were not my cup of tea. So I kind of stopped that lane. But then I let the market decide everything else. As far as I was applying for and auditioning for anything I could find that I felt like I could do. And so far it's been, commercial, narration. Every now and then I'll do some IVR and podcast stuff, but overall it's just commercial and narration are my two biggies. I do a lot of medical too.
Nice. One thing I would definitely talk about is skateboarding. I was a huge skateboard guy back in the 80s, 90s. I graduated in 94, like I said. So remember Ray Barbie? Remember those videos? And I saw you, I was like, oh my gosh, you're in the pool, you're doing the ramps. I was never that crazy. I was the typical, neighborhood. We had the ramp and going down the driveway, and we had a skate park, the Masonite ramps and all that. How long were you in that for? That is pretty cool.
I started, oh gosh, I've been skateboarding now for probably close to 40 years, I guess. I'll be 50 next month. So yeah, I started, I'd say about 40 years. And Ray Barbie just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, by the way, the Skateboarding Hall of Fame. But
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to have a lot of the pro skaters from, that were legendary back in the day, or still are legendary. I've had Steve Caballero at my house. I've had Hosoi. I've had, Lance Mountain. A lot of these guys have come to the house and skated the pool because I built the pool for skateboarding and swimming. But right now is the skate season because it's winter in Arizona.
Oh my gosh. Were you in any of those videos? Cause now I'll have to go back now. Were you like any of those skate videos back in the day? Because I know that was like the coolest thing. You go to the skate shop, you pick out your board, you put your trucks on, and then you'd ruin it by putting 1 billion bumper stickers on it.
Yeah.
Rail slide you take your rails off. You know what I mean? I just remember having the Vision Streetwear. I just remember those days. It was so get out and ride your board and all that stuff. And, the people you remembered, I had Mike McGill skateboard and,
I worked for Mike McGill for a couple of summers down in Florida.
Oh my gosh. That had to be awesome.
It was great. Yeah. Loved it.
Very cool. Well, now it's time to have some fun. I have this thing called it's called the Audition Challenge. I sent something to you in your chat there, and I write this for the guests. And okay. I think I saw your one picture. You were in the pool. Caddyshack. I'm a big 80s movies fan. Yeah. Caddyshack is one of my all-time favorites. Definitely a cult movie. Yep. I wrote this script for you. Read it like you would answer in the, doing the IVR if you could, and okay, have some fun with it whenever you're ready.
Hello, and thanks for calling the Caddyshack Resort. To book a tea time, press 1. To make a reservation at our 1.5-star restaurant, press 2. And to save a spot poolside at our world-famous above-ground pool next to the Candy Bar Cafe, press 3.
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, that scene is just, this iconic scenes and all that. And, now I got the new Ghostbusters coming out. That's very cool. Before I let you go, and again, thanks for being on here. I always ask a cliche question. For those getting into this industry, what is one thing that you recommend they do?
Don't go it alone. I know a lot of people who get into this industry and they number one, they feel like, oh, the first place I need to go is the pay-to-play sites because that's where you get the auditions. And they feel like, and they've gone there without any coaching and performance training, and they end up after 200 or 300 auditions not getting any work, and they think it's them. And it may be, but it also is just the fact that you're up against so many people on those sites. And so my thing would be to get plenty of coaching from a coach who actually books work, not a coach who just coaches. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of those out there. But get coaching from somebody who actually is booking, and make sure that you have a mentor, at least until you can get up and running on your own. Very nice.
Very nice. Again, you're awesome, man. And it was so nice of you to take time on your schedule out and about and have fun at the reunion. That's going to be it seems like it's going to be a really cool time. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, your thumbs up. Like, yep, ladies and gentlemen, Mike HathCote, thank you so much for being on Behind the Audition podcast.
My pleasure, Curt. Thank you. Take care.
Absolutely.
For more information about Mike HathCote or to book him for a project, visit MikeHathCote.com.
Thanks for listening in on Behind the Audition podcast, made possible by Hilton Productions. If you need a male or female voiceover, contact us at HiltonProductions.com. Hilton Productions, let our voices do the selling.